Welcome back to another live Johnny Torch broadcast. Here we have broadcast number 129 as we bring you Torch News Roundup number 118 here on the only way to spend your Saturday here with Johnny Torch Live. And it's been a while. It's been quite a while since we did a Torch News Roundup. A lot of stuff has happened, a lot of stuff to be excited over in pop culture, in the superhero genre particularly. I did manage to dash out a quick, well, it's not so quick, it's a full hour broadcast, but uh, with the minimal interruption or editing, we have the review to DC's Elseworlds that I thought turned out pretty good. I was listening to, and I very rarely go back too far into my old videos. I was listening to last year's Crisis on Earth X, which I believe I mistakenly said was Earth Z, and I don't know. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars as well, even though I gave Elseworlds 4 out of 5 stars. So I don't know. I think maybe I overrated Crisis on Earth X, even though I don't know. I should go back to it and check it out again. But yeah, be sure to check out that review. It's a very good review. I thought they did a pretty good job. The latter portion of the crossover didn't quite meet my standards, but I was very happy to see sort of the things that I were hoping they were going to implement into the show again that they actually did. So that was a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. I just wish they could have stuck the landing, but oh well. Before we get ahead with this week's news, I also want to mention, of course, the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Comics, as you see in the screen there, my avatar, my logo, so to speak. That is now, if you look back at past broadcasts beside this past month, you'll see a different image for issue 4. Now we are touting issue 5, and it is available. I don't think it's listed yet. I didn't check today, as a matter of fact, but I don't think it's listed at Indie Planet quite yet. You might want to check if you're viewing this a little bit later after the fact, but I have a deal going on in my website where you can buy the signed edition of Bullets Bourbon 5, one bourbon, one scotch, and one Miller, and you will get them free shipping. I I don't know if they'll make it by Christmas. I don't know. I think if you try right now, you would probably get them in time for Christmas, depending on what part of the world you're in, but certainly within the continental U.S. I would say you would get them. Of course, today, as of this broadcast, it is Saturday, December 15th. And so check out my website. You'll find the link in the description below. You can check out a 3-page free preview that I've got up there, which shows the beginning of this action scene where Bullets and Desiree are in a high-speed chase in Carrot Top's lair, his missile base, where he is planning an attack on the U.S. Capitol, and you get to see all the action there. You also will get to see an action scene with Sour Note, who's not depicted on the cover. Can't fit everybody on the cover, but also because in that scene, that's the scene before the cover, and well, just look at the preview and you'll see what happens to him. But very excited about this issue. Very excited about the next issue coming up that will complete this 3-part story arc, the overall story, which is called When the Night Comes, in tribute to uh, Joe Cocker. And it's night spelled with a K, though, so it's not quite the Joe Cocker hit from the 80s, which I love, by the way. Okay, so while we're talking, also look in the link in the description below for my Twitter page. You'll find all the fun and games that I get into on Twitter. And we have a couple of polls up. We got last week's poll that is almost finished, almost completo, but you have 1 day left if you are still listening to this within the 24-hour period of its original broadcast. And the question for last week was, what's your favorite superhero television era? The golden age, which is the 50s and 60s, where I try to put some pictures up to show an accurate representation of all the ages of superheroes on television. Of course, you had the 50s and 60s. In the 50s, you had George Reeves' Superman. You had the Lone Ranger. In the 60s, you had Batman with Adam West and Burt Ward. You also had The Green Hornet series with Bruce Lee and Van Williams. You had Zorro with Guy Williams. So that's pretty much a good representation for the Golden Age. The Silver Age, of course, you had Wonder Woman with Linda Carter, The Incredible Hulk with Bigsby and Ferrigno, Spider-Man with Nicholas Hammond, the Shazam series with the two different Shazam actors, Barry Bostwick, and I can't remember the other guy's name. The ISIS, there's a lot of great shows in the 70s as well. Bronze Age is the tail end of the 80s and slash the 90s, which was, of course, my favorite show of all time, The Flash with John Wesley Shipp. You have Superboy with Gerard Christopher, the Swamp Thing TV show, the RoboCop TV show. I think he counts as a superhero, although I guess you have some contention about that. Lois and Clark, which I was never a big fan of, but still was more entertaining than most of the stuff that were to follow. And that is the Bronze Age. And of course, in the final slot here, we have the Modern Age, which is from 2000 and beyond, which means all the Arrowverse shows, all the Marvel Netflix shows, Smallville, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Inhumans, basically all that stuff is the Modern Age. And to wrap it up here with a nice bow tie, in last place currently with 94 votes is the Golden Age. The 50s and the 60s didn't get quite as much love as the others. In third place with 16% of the vote, the Silver Age, which represents, of course, the 70s. It's a close one, a close battle between the 60s, between the 70s and the 80s, 90s, which comes in in second place with 17% of the vote, the Bronze Age in second place. And winning this one pretty handily with 55% of the vote, the Modern Age, 2000 and beyond. Everybody loves their current superhero television. And I have to admit, there is a lot of it. That's probably what it is. There's something for everybody. I could go on for hours. We also have Legion. We also have The Gifted. We also have Cloak and Dagger. We have no dearth of superhero programming to this day. So, you still have a day to vote on that one. But this week's poll, the week question we have, and I think it's a tough one. I think this is a tough one, if I do say so myself. If the CW could make only one more Arrowverse spin-off series, because remember, they're saying every single time they make another one, they say they don't have room for any more. They took Supergirl from CBS after they abandoned it, and they said, well, this is probably all we're going to do for our superhero programming. Then they grabbed Black Lightning when that came off of Fox, I believe, and didn't even get a pilot order. So now they're planning a Batwoman TV series, and people are starting to say, well, they could just make the whole CW a block of hero shows. If they could make only one more Arrowverse spinoff series, who should get the starring role? Of course, the first choice is Ruby Rose's Batwoman, because that's probably going to happen. I don't think they've ordered it a series or anything, but they're going to at least probably try to produce a pilot, try to get it picked up. In the second slot, we have David Ramsey as John Stewart, the Green Lantern. Now, there's been a lot of speculation over whether Ramsey would ever get spun off as John Stewart, because, of course, his name is John Stewart Diggle in the Arrowverse. And he would make a great Green Lantern, a great John Stewart. And like I said in my Elseworlds review, Green Lantern is pretty much the only thing they haven't touched in the DC universe. We haven't really gotten Wonder Woman yet either, which I think they probably should do at some point, since we've already got Superman, and potentially we'll have Batman have some kind of role in this series, in this universe. In the third spot, of course, always being rumored, Tyler Hoechlin as Superman in his own Man of Steel series. I went over that in Elseworlds as well. I doubt that's going to happen. That's probably not going to... It's going to be a competitor to Supergirl, and they're not going to want that, but I would still like to see him have that show. And in the fourth slot, we have Matt Ryan as John Constantine in a second go as Constantine in a series. Personally, what would I pick here? I am leaning between David Ramsey as the Green Lantern and Tyler Hoechlin as Superman. There is problems with both, though, because Green Lantern is going to be a tough character to display on a television budget. This is why we didn't get too much Firestorm in Legends, and why we don't get too much of the Atom in Legends. There is a lot of CGI that's required of the character. So I don't know if he would get great treatment on television. He would probably get one action scene, a week. Although they do seem to manage to do pretty well on the Flash, which is puzzling. Why they can, I guess it's where they put their emphasis on. The Flash, you got to see him run, otherwise there's no show. And I think the same thing would be here. We probably wouldn't see too much interstellar travels or whatever, but it would probably still look decent to see the Green Lantern effect. I think my other choice would probably be Tyler Hoechlin as Superman, but again, part of the problem with that is the SJWs have already corrupted Supergirl. What would they do to Superman? I shudder to think. But that's pretty much what I would do. Like I said before, I wasn't entirely thrilled with Batwoman. I didn't really see anything to really hang my hat on that warranted a series. I'd rather see a Batman TV series, and of course, you can bring Batwoman in as a member of the Bat family. As far as Matt Ryan as Constantine, he's perfect as Constantine. I love him as Constantine, but I think Constantine is better as a supporting player. I think he works best when he gets to bounce off of the other legends. That's not to say that he couldn't support his own show. I watched his show when it was on. Although I'm not a big fan of like demons and hell and junk like that. So I really wasn't as interested in the Constantine show, but I think his personality also works better when he's got other characters to bounce off of. And his supporting characters on that show were decent, but we have basically A-listers all on Legends. Okay, so now with 4 days left in this poll, we have 82 votes. And in fourth place, let me see if I can not file this up. In fourth place, with 4% of the vote, David Ramsey's Green Lantern. Now, I'm very surprised about that. I thought he was going to get a larger percentage of the vote. But, who knows? In third place, with 21% of the vote, Tyler Hoechlin as Superman, the Man of Steel. That also a little low, but it's somewhat popular, an idea. In second place with 33% of the vote, Ruby Rose as Batwoman. And Ruby Rose's Batwoman did great guns in the beginning of this poll, but it just, she started sliding, and it was overtaken by our number one supporter of the poll here, with 42% of the vote, Matt Ryan as Constantine. A lot of people want to see him back. He's got a very strong fan base. And if I remember correctly, Matt Ryan has done the animated voice of Constantine several times. I'd like to check some of those out. But again, like I said, it's not really my bag. But yeah, 42% of the vote, Matt Ryan is quite ahead now, and I'm pretty sure going to win this poll. But you still have time to vote. Check out the page, my Twitter page, for the vote for the polls. And yeah, you've got a couple more days for the poll of the week question. Now, as I sip a little H2O, let us prepare for our Torch News Roundup of the week, number 118. Let's see. It's been quite a while. Let's see. When's the last time we did a roundup? I think it was last Saturday. Try to get them out on Saturday, and I am not sure if this is going to be the last Torch News Roundup before Christmas. It might be, but we will find out. We did not cover the Avengers Endgame trailer last week on our last show because we were doing Captain Marvel's trailer, and we were, I don't know, I think we did it Monday. It was 2 days before the Endgame trailer. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go straight to the Endgame trailer. Let's talk about it. I got some images here that will help recall. And just to start off, I love this trailer. I thought it was fantastic. I think it was epic. It was everything I wanted to see in the trailer for Endgame. That's the name of our Avengers 4 now. We know Endgame. And there's a lot of people, for some reason, that seem, unsatisfied with that title. I don't know why. It seems like it's very fitting to me. This has pretty much been predicted, I guess, is why maybe it's been sort of been lampooned as being a little too simplistic, that it was the obvious choice. All right, so the trailer starts off pretty somber, pretty grim, and as you know, I'm not a big fan of somber, grim superhero movies, but they really hit all the right notes here with Tony Stark, and he's recording a message for Pepper Potts, and that's where it all started. it all ends where it started, with Tony and Iron Man and Pepper Potts. And he records this very heartfelt message where he's pretty much made peace with the fact that not only is, his future very bleak, but that he failed as a superhero and Thanos had won. And the food and water ran out 4 days previous, and the air was about to run out the next day. So he leaves this very nice, heartfelt message here for Pepper Potts, and seems to be somewhat resigned to his fate, so to speak. And some great acting here by Robert Downey Jr. As I said, I'll miss him probably the most of the original core characters here, the original core cast. We're going to do things a little bit out of order, but then we see Nebula, who I imagine is on the same ship with Tony. And, it's not really definitive whether she's going to survive or not, because she is largely mechanical. So I don't know if she can function a lot longer than he is. She goes over and seems to touch somebody's shoulder, which I imagine is Tony. Well, could be anybody, but the only people that were remaining in space from that side of the storyline were them two. And it's interesting. It's interesting because I like the fact that they didn't really spoil anything. And Marvel, they're not going to spoil anything, but we have still yet to see Steve Rogers and Tony Stark in the same scene since Civil War. We need to see that reunification, as it was, and I think that's going to be the place where we get the Avengers Assemble line finally, when we finally get them two together. And they're going to have to get back together at some point. But all right, so let's see here. What else do we have? We see basically the grimaces of everybody. We have a disconsolate Bruce Banner as he's checking out all the missing in action heroes. We had confirmation, of course. We already knew Peter Parker and Shuri, which I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I couldn't really see the lettering, but that red lettering says missing over here for Scott Lang. So apparently Shuri is missing too, which makes sense because she's one of the most intelligent characters in the MCU. So they're not going to want to have too much help for our heroes to undo Thanos' damage. Of course, Scott Lang is missing because he's in the quantum realm. That's where we left him in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but they don't know that. They think he's just dead at this point. All right. We also have the mighty Thor, and it looks like they still have his eye is the mechanical eye. That's pretty strange. I don't really understand what they were doing. The whole concept of Thor Ragnarok was basically to turn the entire world of Thor on its ear and change it all entirely. And the next thing you know, back in Infinity War, he's almost exactly the same as we left him, except the haircut is different. And I think it's important that they stick to, the familiarity of the characters. I don't like seeing them look completely different. And here we see Thor basically in civilian attire. Again, he doesn't look very Thorish here, but you got to feel for Thor because he's the Avenger that lost the most from where he started. He was the favorite son, he was the heir to the throne, he had a wonderful romance and love story that didn't have any problems and hiccups. And then his mother dies, his father dies, his brother dies several times. The relationship with Jane goes away. And he's lost so much. He lost his eye to his crazy sister. He's lost his entire people, his planet, with probably about half of the planet's population dying. And he's forever going to be remembered now as the guy that should have went for the head. you know, it's pretty sad where we leave Thor. And I'm really hoping to see I really want to see, because I'm such a Hulk fan, I want to see the Hulk whale a tar out of Thanos. But Thor really needs to get his licks in too. I mean, Thor has just had some mighty tough breaks over the course of this saga. So let's hope he gets his chance for redemption here. All right, and let's take a look at let's take a look at the other heroes. Of course, we have the return of Black Widow, still a blonde. Don't like that look on her. I still don't. Scarlett Johansson, of course, beautiful anyway, but still, it doesn't look like the Black Widow to me to have blonde hair. She looks pretty nice considering the situation the world is in now. She's all done up nice, but she, of course, informs the audience, in case you didn't see Infinity War, that Thanos got his will carried out and destroyed half the world's population and half the living things on the world, which also include cattle and animals and plant life, apparently. And of course, we see Steve Rogers rolling a tear because that's just how bleak it is. If you can make Captain America cry, you know you're a bad, 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 bad guy. Because he made Captain America cry, and that's bad. That's a bad thing. I don't want to see Captain America cry. But seriously, um, yeah, that's just powerful image there. I mean, that's like that. That's like the Native American commercial there, the Indian, the crying Indian, where he's crying because people littered the beautiful wildlife. That's the that's the feeling this invokes in me. I don't want to see the Native Americans cry. I don't want to see Captain America cry. That's America. That's America, son. You don't want to see America cry. And of course, Thanos made Captain America cry. So, again, I want to see Captain America get his comeuppance on Thanos too. We're gonna have all the Avengers just wailing away on Thanos. He's just gonna be a pile of purple goo by the end of this movie, because let's just throw Iron Man in there too. All the heck that they put him through. The poor guy suffered every single movie, and he's suffering still up there now alone, except for some weird blue robot chick. He's gonna torment Thanos too when he comes back. We got to see that. That's what I'm looking forward to. They just gotta all take turns whacking on him. All right, so here's another interesting thing here. Now, this is a character that apparently is called Ronin, and I didn't know that because apparently that's something that has come about in the past few years, I guess, in the comics. Which, surprise, surprise, it's actually Clint Barton, who is, of course, Hawkeye. I don't know why he's trying to cut his own arm off there. Honestly, that was my original thought. I thought that was he was trying to cut his arm off, but apparently he's just trying to sharpen his blade on his gauntlet there, that Batman style gauntlet. And it's a welcome sight to see Jeremy Renner back, because he's the unsung of the Avengers. I mean, he really hasn't gotten a whole lot to shine. They gave him a big part of Age of Ultron, which was great because I love Renner, I love Clint, I love Hawkeye. But that was really like a very lame storyline. And he had some great highlights in Civil War. Some of the best parts of Civil War was Renner's. But I don't know. I feel like I just hope they do him justice here. I don't know. He's dropping bodies. I guess he's in Chinatown or something, dropping bodies. And, obviously, because the Captain America narration says that, they took something from us. And obviously, it's going to be Barton's family. Apparently, it's going to be his whole family. I can't see him still getting this crazy if he had at least one or two members of his family maybe still alive. But that's going to be something that maybe pays off that ill conceived idea of Clinton Barton, the family man. I think it'll pay off if they can do this right. Okay, so this is my thoughts on Avengers Endgame if you just tuned in. The Avengers trailer. Okay, and yeah, so let's take a look. They don't show us Thanos because obviously I think they're going to want to work on the CGI. They're not going to just, throw a lot of Thanos in this. We see him walking through the fields. He's now a farmer. They got him like in the comic with this battle armor as a scarecrow. Yeah, I mean, Thanos, I don't know. On the one hand, I didn't think he was quite as impressive as I thought he would be in my own mind. I thought he'd be a little bit more terrifying because he would be crazy, but they tried to play him more as misguided. He just wanted to even out the balance, and of course, he had legitimate reasons for this that would work, even though it was a horrible Kodos the Executioner style deal. So I don't know. I would have just rather have him as a madman, like he's supposed to be the Mad Titan, but that kind of knocked Infinity War down a peg in my favor. But also, we got to see the problem with Infinity War to me was that it was very much a cliffhanger that offered no hope. I mean, we just got the little teaser of um, Captain Marvel, and Samuel L. Jackson was going to call her and stuff, but we really didn't leave it on a sort of upswing. It was just Thanos won, and that's it. And that's why I also don't understand why you get some people complaining like, "Oh, this is going to be predictable. The Avengers are going to win." Well, yeah, that's kind of what happens. The good guys win. You don't want to have the MCU end with a tyrant taking over the planet and killing half the population. Yeah, I kind of think that it should be predictable in that case. But we don't know how it's going to turn out, though. We don't know if we're going to have some casualties, of course. I still think if I were to place a bet, I think they're going to keep all the heroes alive. Some people are saying maybe they're going to have Cap go back to the past and live with Peggy, and sort of instead of being a man at a time, he goes back to the past and lives out his days there. I don't see that happening because I don't think Cap would take Peggy's life away from her that she already had established. She had a husband and children. I don't think Cap's that kind of guy to do that. I'd be very surprised and disappointed if he did. Of course, here is the famous compass that has the Peggy photo in it, the Peggy image from First Avenger. And take that, you what do you call them? Rogers and offers, whatever you call your shipper cult there. It's Cap and Peggy. It's Cap and Peggy. It's not going to be Cap and Black Widow. And that's the way I like it. Peggy is the one that gives Cap strength, her memory. I don't really see anything between these two other than like a brotherly, sisterly partnership. I mean, obviously, um, Black Widow kind of flirted with him in Winter Soldier, but that's just her nature with everybody. I think I don't really see there being any kind of sparks there. Of course, they do strange things sometimes, like the Bruce Banner Natasha pair up. That was strange and came out of nowhere. So this would be equally strange. I think they learned their lesson that they're not going to do any strange pairings that didn't happen in the comics. That's what they should do anyway. Hopefully they stick to it. All right, so of course the trailer ends, and of course we got Cap back with no beard. Cap took the time to take a shave. That's great, because I couldn't stand him with a beard. But then again, he's still got the dark costume. He's got that shield costume. I don't like the shield costume. I always like the Avengers costume, the real bright spangly one from Avengers. That's sort of the modern day equivalent of what Captain America should look like. They keep putting him back in sort of that bulky football pad style, which I think, it's fine. It makes him look a little more brawny, so that's fine. But the colors are always either dark, dull, and muted, or they got that kind of powder blue, like from straight out of World War II, which is also kind of weird. So I don't know. I always liked that first costume, and I wish they'd go back to it. That first Avengers movie costume. I wish they go back to it. So we've got Cap to take a shave. Now we need to get Black Widow to get the red hair back again, and all will be right in the universe. All right, and so the trailer ends with, of course, the one who's going to save the day. He's going to save the day. We've got Scott Lang, clueless as usual, it looks like, but he's trying to get buzzed into the Avengers complex. That complex, I don't know. I like the Avengers Tower better, but then again, I guess it's more practical. The base, it looks like a GI Joe base, though. It doesn't look like something for superheroes, but I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, Scott Lang, he's going to be. I'm so glad they brought him in too, because this trailer would have been really bleak without him. A lot of people want to complain about the comical overtones of the MCU, but this is great. This is just a great scene. It's just, I don't know how he gets out of the quantum realm, but apparently he finds a way out, and he's going to meet up with the Avengers for. And it's great too, because Ant-Man was one of the original Avengers and was never, never quite given his due in the Avengers. He hasn't been part of the Avengers apart from just that brief Civil War excursion, I should say. So now he's going to actually work with the team, I think, on a more consistent level where he's going to be actually a part of the Avengers. So I'm happy for him, one of the original Avengers coming to the fold. And so that's about it for the Avengers Endgame trailer reaction review, shot by shot, breakdown, whatever you want to call it. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about this film because of the trailer? Did this do anything to put you off to the movie? I am pretty much over the moon about this movie. I'm really excited about it. I think it's really going to be the payoff that we were hoping we get with Infinity War. This is going to be an all points bullet, and everybody's coming out of the woodwork. They're gonna all take a crack at Thanos, and Cap has the line, I know it'll work because I don't know what I'll do if it doesn't. And you really just feel the hopelessness of the situation. They got one more crack at it if they're lucky. And we don't have a lot of the big brains to help us anymore. Doctor Strange, who is so smart with these things, he's not there for us. Black Panther or Shuri. And we got to get up there and rescue Tony too, because now his life is in the balance, and danger is on the move. Okay, so let us move on now. As I said, let me know what you think in the comments below. We've got a few more stories here in this week. We've got some casting news. Let's see what's the first casting news. We have, let's see. Deadline is reporting that Adria Ajona, and I again don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, as we've remember from our last broadcast. Sometimes these names can be a little tricky. But Adria Ajana is in talks to join Sony's upcoming Morbius movie, which has Academy Award winner Jared Leto starring in the title role, according to Deadline. She'll portray the film's female lead, Martine Bancroft, who in the comics is engaged to the renowned Dr. Michael Morbius, Leto, before he accidentally turns himself into a living vampire while seeking a cure for his rare blood disease. She then quickly turns from fiancé to potential victim as Morbius learns to cope with his insatiable bloodlust. So the character's name is going to be Martine. Unfortunately, it's not going to be Felicia like the comics, where he was in love with Felicia Hardy, and it was Felicia. That went on for a long time, and she tried to help him, I think, Felicia, and I don't know if he was ever cured. I don't think so. One of the episodes had him go off into the cave and just go to sleep. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Daniel Espinosa is directing the standalone feature with a script from Burke Sharpless and Matt Samsa, who recently co-created Netflix's Lost in Space series. Their past credits also include Power Rangers, Gods of Egypt, Last Witch Hunter, and Dracula Untold. So they have a little something in common with the vampire motif with that one. Production is slated to begin in early February, so expect to hear a lot more casting news as we enter the new year. Morbius will be Sony's second live-action entry in their burgeoning Spider-Man-less Spider-Man universe, following the Tom Hardy-led blockbuster Venom, which raked in over $852.7 million worldwide. So Venom done good. Venom done good at the box office. Everybody was ready to bury that thing with a shovel and, stick up the gravestone. But it turned out to be quite a success. And I liked it. I really enjoyed it as well. I don't think that there was, some people try to say maybe it was underwhelming to an extent, but it felt to me like a very origin level story which you can build off of. I think you get a little leeway in the opening act, and they can build on it now with Carnage, and that'll be probably more exciting to actually see how they work together. But of course, part of the fun of the origin is seeing how the hero acclimates and seeing, Eddie trying to reconcile himself with the symbiote. It was really entertaining. I think it made sense that it was successful because it was an entertaining movie. All right, so again, I don't know this actress all too well, but yeah, very lovely woman. And we will move on now to our next story, where we have Let's see. Okay. According to the trade, Ian Ziering from Beverly Hills 90210 fame has signed on to play the Blue Devil in the new upcoming Swamp Thing series for DC Universe. Now, I am not familiar with Blue Devil very much. I remember seeing ads for his comics in comics, and it was always an interesting looking character. Very satanic looking. Was not fond of that look. But apparently, it says here the synopsis is in the comics, Daniel Cassidy was a stuntman and FX artist who became bonded to his Blue Devil bodysuit when the demon Nibiros mistakes him for an actual hellspawn and attempts to drain his dark power. In an effort to find a way to reverse their effect, he winds up becoming a reluctant hero. So that's an interesting idea. I guess, that's just a costume and he's not just some, devil character coming out of hell. Because, like I said previously in this broadcast alone, I'm not a fan of that concept. Demons and stuff, that belongs in the Bible. I don't believe it belongs in comics, but there's a pretty large subset of comics that has fans for that. It's not clear if the small screen take on the character will have the same origin or not, but the official description does confirm a few details as follows. Stuntman turned movie star Daniel Cassidy became semi famous after playing the demonic Blue Devil. But now, 8 years later, Cassidy finds himself living out his days in frustration, pining for his former fame while on a collision course with destiny. So it does sound somewhat similar to the original comics incarnation. I haven't seen Ian do anything since 90210, but it says here he was also in Sharknado. I have never understood the appeal of those Sharknado movies, but yeah, there you have it. See, let me know what you think. Do you think you'll see Ian Zierling in the Blue Devil costume, and how will he look? He kind of has that look on his face from this comic image right here, doesn't he? He looks like he would fit that look. All right. And let's see. Next up, we have news on the Stargirl series for DC Universe. Stargirl casts former Community and X-Files actor Joel McHale as Starman. Now, to be honest with you, this guy, I only remember him from Spider-Man 2. He was the guy that wouldn't give Aunt May the toaster. The big meanie. How dare he? You don't refuse Aunt May anything. Of course, nowadays, when Aunt May is hot Aunt May, I don't think anybody would. But that's shameful. Rosemary Harris is the perfect Aunt May in live action. Okay. Let's see. Variety is reporting that primetime Emmy nominee Joel McHale has joined the cast of DC Universe's upcoming Stargirl series in a recurring role as Sylvester Pemberton, aka Starman. That sounds like there's a starman waiting. Yeah, no, I'm not going to sing. Not anymore. While plot details are being kept under wraps, his character is being described as the Golden Age version. Oh, that's good. I like it when they take it back to the originals. A courageous and confident superhero, Starman is a member of the Justice Society of America, DC's original superhero team. Starman wields a mysterious anti-gravity weapon called the Cosmic Staff. His longtime partner is his sidekick Stripesy, better known as Courtney Whitmore's stepfather, Pat Dugan. Courtney Whitmore, played by Breck Bassinger, I guess. She's the one that got to play Stargirl. I don't know if I covered that because that doesn't sound familiar to me. Hold on a second. All right. We're good. Let's see. The series itself follows Courtney as she inspires that unlikely group of young heroes to stop the villains of the past and aims to reimagine Stargirl and the very first superhero team, the Justice Society of America, in what promises to be an unpredictable series. So this is not going to be a period piece, right? But they did say it's going to be the Golden Age version that he's playing. I don't know. Stargirl focuses on the character that started. What is this? Okay, wait a second. Stargirl focuses on the character that started executive producer Jeff Johns' career as a comic book writer when he created her in 1999. and was lovingly inspired by his late sister, who was killed in a 1996 plane explosion. Oh, that's very sad. But so that sounds interesting. We're getting a little bit closer to getting some more series out on DC Universe. I'm not sure exactly. There's been conflicting views on Titans. They say it's very dark and bleak and mature. And they're saying the same thing is going to be the case of Swamp Thing. Are they going to actually have anything for any kids on this streaming service? That's what I want to know. Is Stargirl going to be the sole, maybe all ages show on the streaming service? Because as it seems right now, as it stands, it sounds like that it's going to be all Marvel Netflix stuff. And I guess that's why these companies want to do these streaming services. Well, with the exception of Disney, of course, their streaming service seems to be completely in the realm of the MCU. But they want to take these characters and just slap them into, grim, gritty, dark, dank, violent territory. And again, I'm always against that, because what about the kids? We need to appeal to the next generation. And if you can't show the next generation the heroes that we grew up with, what is the point of them existing? What are the point of these characters existing if they're not going to speak to a new generation, unless we're going to completely, compromise our morality with kids and just say we can show them anything now? As I said, I don't even think I could show my kids, when I have them, the Arrowverse stuff. Arrowverse shows are still pretty much out there. There really isn't anything that's all ages apart from the MCU at this point. And God only knows how much longer that's going to last. Okay, so we got our final story of the night here. Our final story of the night. The DCEU Superman and Lois Lane future in question. A couple of news stories have come out recently. Let's start with the lovely Lois Lane herself, Amy Adams. And she was on a thing called the Varieties Actors on Actors podcast or something. I don't know what it's called, but where I suppose the shtick is one actor will interview another actor and they'll talk about whatever upcoming projects they're working on. In this instance, Amy Adams was interviewing Nicole Kidman, who, of course, no stranger to the DC universe. She played Chase Meridian, of course, way back in Batman Forever, and now she is going to be playing Aquaman's mummy in Aquaman, which is due to be out sometime next week. Very excited for that movie, by the way. I'm looking forward to it. But an interesting few seconds, at least, of conversation dealt with they both being in the DC universe. Of course, Amy is Lois Lane. And she was quoted as saying, Amy Adams was quoted as saying, "I think I'm out of the DC universe now. I think they're revamping that. I don't know all the details." So apparently, by Amy Adams' own admission, she doesn't know the situation here for her future in the DC universe. I am pretty disappointed with that, because I think that Amy did a good job of bringing the Margot Kidder style Lois Lane to what was, by all admission, a pretty lousy introduction of Superman and Lois Lane to the DCEU. Again, that's on Zack Snyder. That's not on Amy Adams or Henry Cavill. But at the heart of the Lois Lane character is a intense dedication to Superman. And I felt that Amy Adams brought that to Lois Lane in the same way that Margot Kidder did. And she did have the spunkiness. She did have the sassiness, particularly in Man of Steel. I think she was showing those chops quite a bit. We've seen her putting herself in harm's way during Batman v Superman several times. It's not really the fault of, the actors that these films were badly mishandled by Zack Snyder. So that's kind of disappointing. But on the other hand, she just doesn't know what the situation is, I guess. She doesn't know exactly where the chips are going to fall. She's just apparently as in the dark as we are, not knowing where they're taking this, seeing as how it seems like these negotiations with Henry Cavill seem to have stalled over and over and over again, to the point where he's not even going to do a Shazam cameo, apparently. Now, in contrast to that, we have another story which tells a different tale. We've got Jason Momoa, who, of course, will be playing Aquaman in the soon to be released Aquaman solo movie. He was asked whether Henry Cavill will be back as Superman while talking to Entertainment Tonight at the premiere of Aquaman, and told them that Henry Cavill is absolutely not, quote unquote, stepping away from the iconic hero. He was quoted as saying, "I just talked to Henry. He's absolutely not leaving the character. He loves the character. He's not. 100%." So again, now this it seems to me that none of these actors really know what's going on. It's kind of sad because it seems like it's laid between the lines here, and I don't really know exactly, what side of the fence you want to fall on. Now, apparently, I don't think Jason Momoa would be lying. I think he has talked to Cavill, and I guess Cavill is still on board and wants to stay on board. That is not too surprising when we had that image, remember, of Superman, Henry Cavill holding the Superman doll, and there was other tweets from his publicist and so forth, insisting that he's still attached to the DCEU. But there's also been stories leaking back and forth where the top brass are kind of looking to revamp the DCEU. They don't want to really keep a lot of the old faces still involved. The possibility that Ben Affleck will be moving on, although again, it's conflicting stories about that. It's a very confused situation we're in now with the DCEU. I wish they would just hurry up and get it on track. Apparently, the only thing we know for certain is that Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa are not going anywhere in the foreseeable future because they've got Aquaman and Wonder Woman coming out, Wonder Woman 2 or Wonder Woman 84 if you prefer. And so, we all know that Aquaman, I think, is going to be pretty successful. Wonder Woman is going to probably have a successful sequel. I think they're going to be sticking around for a long time to come. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, of course, is set to make another appearance, and I think, it remains to be seen just how far they're going to be able to, get rid of some of these original characters. I think maybe Ezra Miller's name has been on the block as to whether he may or may not continue on as the Flash. But I don't know. I have pretty good confidence that we're going to see Henry Cavill back, and of course that would mean having Amy Adams back. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think the situation is all going to turn out to be? Are they going to, as Amy Adams said, go another way with these characters, revamp the actors and the films and the universe? Or will they just continue to go on as they have with a new and better direction? Because it does seem that the DCEU have put all their chips in the right direction. They're trying to make these movies more fun, more accessible, not these dark, gritty art house pieces. They seem to be trying to give us the DC equivalent of what Marvel has done, and that's why, in some circles, that's been frowned on because they didn't want to be seen as merely aping the MCU's successful formula. But if they can get it together, as it seems like they have, starting with, I would go so far as to say, starting with Suicide Squad, I think they got the first steps in the right direction in that film. Certainly, Wonder Woman was a success. Then we're going to have Aquaman, which also looks to be a success. I think if they continue on in this direction, it should probably, it behooves them to just continue on and not stop everything to revamp. I think even some of the more challenging things like Ezra Miller's Flash, I think you could probably work that into something successful if they put the right people on it. And since they've done a spectacular job with Patty Jenkins and James Wan, I don't see why they shouldn't be able to get the right people on these films for Superman and Batman. Why should we sideline Superman and Batman? They are the bread and butter of the DCEU. They had been for Warner Brothers for several decades. The late 70s to, you know, whenever the Batman and Robin came out, they were very successful. Even in the 2000s, we had the Batman series of Nolan, which is also very successful. So to suggest that we're going to put them on the shelf for a long time, I think is just a negotiating tactic. It must be some kind of ploy because I don't really see them, you know, to use an old cliche, killing the golden goose by just simply not making Batman movies and not making Superman movies. So once again, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like I said, I was a big fan of Justice League. I liked what they did with Henry Cavill's Superman most of all. And so to sort of shut Cavill out now that he's actually gotten a chance to play the real Superman, that's shameful. That's really disgraceful because they made him go through the Zack Snyder era, which was trying on all parties involved. So let the guy catch a break and actually play Superman as he was intended to be. This year, of course, marks the 40th anniversary of the original Donner Superman film, and that is the one that started it all. That's the one that really is responsible for giving us the great boom to superhero media in television and movies that we have today. So once again, thank you for joining me on this Johnny Torch Live number 129. We thank you for joining us for the Torch News Roundup number 118. Make sure you leave your comments below and let me know what you think about the Avengers trailer, the future of the DCEU, the conflicting nature of reports about the future of the DCEU, and some of the casting news we got today. And make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're still trying to get 100 subs by the end of the year, and we need 21 more. So make sure you get there and hit that subscribe button. Also, as I said before, check out my links in the description below. You can see the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon comics. Much excitement about that coming out by checking out my website. We can find a free 3-page preview which will inform you about some of the action and adventure in the Bullets Bourbon universe. You can check out my Twitter page in the link in the description below as well and vote in the poll of the week question. All right, so I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to do the next video. Of course, we have the holidays coming up, fast approaching, Christmas and New Year's in the coming days. So if this is, in fact, the last broadcast before the end of the year, let me wish you all a very merry, merry, merry Christmas and a happy New Year. And thank you for joining me as the past 3 years we've been doing the Torch News Roundup, and I've been doing the live videos for a couple of years now as well. And enjoy the holiday season. Make sure you have a very safe and prosperous Happy New Year as well. And may the blessings of Christ be with you and your family this Christmas. And so, as I always say, this is your host, Johnny Torch, reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.